Welcome to Unspoken Conversations. Your words have power. Together, we will have a multi-generational conversation on topics that are considered taboo, risky, controversial, but most of all, thought-provoking. Welcome to Unspoken Conversations. Your words have power. Together, we will have a multi-generational conversation on topics that are considered taboo, risky, controversial, but most of all, thought-provoking. Welcome to Unspoken Conversations. Your words have power. Together, we will have a multi-generational conversation on topics that are considered taboo, risky, controversial, but most of all, thought-provoking. We're back!
All right.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Season 2 of Unspoken Conversations. Your words have power. And introducing my new co-host, Mr. Brandon Hayes.
How everybody doing? I hope y'all are really gonna be tuned in and hear these points of views and try not to take offense to the different minds that are trying to present a new way for you to think.
So I know I look young, but Brandon is a millennial. He's how old are you, Brandon?
36.
Oh, okay. Yep, he's a millennial. He's an official millennial now.
And don't mind the bags, man. I've had a long weekend. You guys can welcome me back to the city.
Back to the Queen City. Mm-hmm. He back in Charlotte.
Oh yeah, from driving. I probably had 3 hours of sleep on Thursday night. 7-hour drive. Got here, stayed up, moved yesterday. Stayed up to about from 6 in the morning to 1 o'clock last night. So yeah, running off fumes, but I'm excited to be here.
So Paris, he said he still wants to be part of our conversations, but he has a lot going on. He said on Sunday evenings he's usually working, and so he said that he would not be able to dedicate the time that he wanted to, but he hopes that every now and again, we will invite him back. So, that's my son. He always welcome back. It's my cousin. So, we keeping it in the family. But again, thank you everybody for tuning back in. Like I did my little reel, I took a sabbatical just to rest. I was traveling. Guess where I went? I went to Curacao. Yay me. I went to Curacao and got some needed rest and relaxation. And during that time, I was just regrouping, checking out our current events and what have you. I met some incredible people down in Curacao. And
where is that at for some people that don't know?
Curacao
is one of them people that don't
know. Oh. Well, so Curacao is below the equator, and it is part of the ABC Islands. So that's Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao.
That's what they call it.
Yeah,
I got a whole passport and don't know that they call it that.
Well, listen, I'm glad that you got a passport because a whole bunch of people don't have a passport.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be stuck here in the US. So anyway, but
I'm gonna smuggle my
hey, welcome Dontia and Felicia. I appreciate you ladies tuning in. We're gonna go ahead and get into this conversation. So today's conversation is special. Well, I don't want to say special. But it hits me in a personal place. So we're going to talk about how we are losing a generation of young men, specifically Black and brown men, and we think part of the contributing factors is death and mass incarceration. So the death part, unfortunately, is them killing each other. Um, you know how they always talk about black on black crime? Well, the notion of black on black crime, it doesn't really carry weight because it depends on who exactly and where exactly you're talking about. So if you're talking about um, let's say you're talking about a community, where that is predominantly black, you're more apt to see black on black crime.
Yeah, it was based on your pretty much your location, what
Right.
you're around. Most crimes are like that. So if we do say, black on black crime, we have to say white on white crime or
Mm-hmm.
um, brown on brown crime
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
whatever other colors they want to throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's due to relativity, where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
In most of the statistics that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes down to homicide, you can see it on the FBI. It's mostly family members or people that you know. So it's not like somebody's coming from outside of your,
Right.
more than likely to come outside of your neighborhood and come and kill you or get into it with you. It's going to be somebody who knows somebody. There is pretty much a close proximity, and that's really what it's all about: proximity when it comes to that.
Crime is proximity.
Mm-hmm.
It's who you know. So, like I said, most homicides are conducted by people that you know. Very outside of what maybe like a serial killer and like mass shootings.
Now with the mass shootings,
Okay.
So it's funny that people are now trying to raise aware on the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment.
Second Amendment
Mhm.
to bear arms,
Mhm.
and they're trying to attack it so much, but it's only gaining traction because of the people who are committing
The mass
these
shootings.
mass shootings. These it's senseless crime, but we can barely go to the store and have a weapon, but others can cross state lines illegally and have a firearm that not even registered to them, and can go commit these crimes. But it's the more and more social media and people have phones and spotlight and stuff is bringing so much attention, so they do things to try to say, "Oh, well, we're trying to take control of that." But that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, yeah, because I that truly is another conversation. But I'd be remiss if I don't say this, that I think we touched on this briefly last season, and so I am not a racist. I love everybody. I don't care anything about your ethnic origin. So let me just get that out there first. I'm a believer, um, and so I love everybody. But I will say this, and actually, I'm speaking about this very specifically about the 1% that things don't move and things don't happen until it impacts the 1%. So if there is even the slightest movement towards some type of regulatory actions as it relates to gun control, it is because it is now affecting the 1%.
In prime example, the war on drugs. Now we have an epidemic of fentanyl.
Oh yeah. Oh, but yeah, no. Fentanyl is a what is it? It's an epidemic. It's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But when it was crack,
it wasn't a problem.
It was a crime.
We were just barbarians and didn't have any home training.
Yeah, now the opioid addiction, they want to get them help. They want to get everybody help, and they want to get them off of drugs. But when it was crack, oh, you was going to get life in prison.
Mhm.
Go figure. Again, that's another conversation.
Yep.
But so as it relates to the losing a generation, I wanted to touch real quick on three specific generations. That's millennials, Gen Zs, and Generation Alpha. So our millennials are were born during the 1980s to the late 1990s.
80s baby.
So to put that in perspective, I have two millennial children, 1985 and 1987. So you would be what, 88?
87.
87. Okay. Yes, you say me quality. So so we're going to paint this picture. So you have those that generation. Your next generation would be considered Gen Zs. They were born the mid to late 1990s to the early 2010s. So an example of a Gen Z. I have two grandsons. They were born in 2006. So they are Gen Zs. They are the children of the millennials.
Ooh, that made me feel like I was, man.
You feeling old?
Yes, I graduated in 2005.
You can feel old by yourself because I don't want to embrace that.
Great.
So then you have Generation Alpha. The first generation born entirely in the 21st century. So your daddy, your youngest child, he was born what year?
2012.
So that's your Generation Alpha. Now the funny thing about it is that um a millennial can still so you have millennials who are giving birth or have children that are actually in Gen Zs, but you can have millennials who also have children that are being born in what would be considered Generation Alpha. For the purpose of this conversation, we're going to look at the Gen Z population, because again, I have two grandsons that are 17. So we're looking at an age between 17 and let's say maybe 25. That is the population that is out there in the streets, killing each other, unfortunately. And that is a population that is currently filling our prisons. And so here's a thought. And I would like for you all to comment. I've also put a number on the screen, so feel free to call in and be live on the air. Yeah, we're doing big things. We going live on the air now. But here's a thought. If the Gen Zs who, unfortunately they're murdered or they die or what have you, um they die, but the ones who may have committed the crime, they get locked up. So if some are deceased and some are locked up, who creates Generation Alpha? We're going to leave millennials out of it, because it's Generation Alpha, and I don't know the generation after that. I guess if they're going to stay with the Greek letters, it would be Generation Beta, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who if all of them are locked up, how do we get a Generation Alpha, or just for the sake of this conversation, a Generation Beta? I don't know what the next generation is after Alpha. I don't know if they decided that yet. But anyway, how does that happen?
That's a good question. I mean, from what I'm seeing now, even to today's current events, it seems like um, that generation is trying to get wiped out. And I say that um, I don't know if you guys been paying attention to the news, and if not the news, it's all over social media. Um, the conflict that's going on between um, Israel and the Palestinians. I'm seeing a place get bombed with a population that has 40% of it no older than 16. That's tough.
Wow.
40% of a population that has 2.2 million people in it.
And 40% of that 2.2 million
are kids and nobody over the age of 16.
Wow.
That's tough. And that's a lot of people. And that's only in one portion of the world. Just imagine what's going on between, the Ukraine and Russia. Those are other people who are now in a war to where anything could happen. Even leading up to here is just like she said. I mean, how are we going to fulfill the generations when things like this are happening? It's going to be tough. And from what I see, I feel like they're being targeted for some reason. They might be the special ones that's going to bring some type of message. I need it because my son, he's smart. Boy, he's smart. All of them smart, but this little last one. Woo-hoo!
But that's that's something to think about. It's really is sad. We live right now in a world that everybody is just thinking about self, and a lot of people are of the mindset that if it's not happening at their doorstep, then it doesn't have anything to do with them. But there are so many actions and steps that we are currently taking that if we are not more mindful and conscious of what we're doing, we will have inadvertently wiped out several generations, and it's not registering to anyone. So yes, so like when you think about war, when you start bombing cities and cities and towns and villages and what have you, it's women and children that are there in those cities. Because you figure if it's a war, the soldiers are not there in the city. The soldiers is out somewhere in the field trying to fight. So you go and while they're gone, you go and you bomb the city, and wipe out their families.
Like it's gotten so bad over there that they're protesting, and I want to say it's France. Don't get me wrong, but they're protesting because of all of the death that they see. I don't think I've ever seen. I haven't even seen movies that are this bad because the people who are sharing it on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, they're trying to bring awareness to it. But I think it's for a specific reason outside of the morality calls to it. We've had things like this happen before, but this just feels so much different. And just the mere fact that we're having this conversation and then that ends up happening is like another sign of, okay, what do we need to do to protect the generations that's coming down the line? Right. I take it as a sign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for the purpose of this conversation, because at the end of the day, we got our own problems right here at home where we live at. So earlier, Brandon and I was having a conversation, and we were just talking about how to address this particular subject, and kind of like try to paint this a picture, so to speak, of what is actually happening, and what are we doing, number one, to contribute to it, and hopefully by the end of this conversation, we will have come up with some ideas, if not necessarily for our own households, maybe somebody else's household. Maybe maybe it's something that you may want to go and share, like, share, and subscribe this podcast with somebody else who may be experiencing something with their own children. So we were thinking about we took Georgia for the example, and we took two cities in Georgia. So I'm gonna pick Decatur and Marietta. I think Marietta is supposed to be a little bit more upscale, definitely more upscale than Decatur. So you have a single mom. She is raising. She let's say she has let's say she has 5 kids. It happens. Sorry.
Sister got 5. She got 6. So yeah, I know.
Okay. So she's a single mom raising 5 kids. Her oldest child is 17. So we're gonna say that all the children have the same father, because we don't want to perpetuate the stereotype. Right. So they all have the same father, but for whatever reason, he's not there. And let's be nice about it, and let's just say, he passed. Let's not put him in prison, because everything is not always, oh, he just up and left his family or he's in prison. So let's just say, unfortunately, he died in a car accident. So nonetheless, she's still she for all intents and purposes, she's a single mom trying to raise 5 kids. Well, now they're young, so we're going to make them millennials. And unfortunately, a lot of millennials don't have the necessary things in place. So she doesn't have any life insurance that was left for her.
I was about to say that.
So now she has to work. Let's say she has to work 3 jobs, because her rent, in Decatur, is $2,000. Because she has to work 3 jobs, the 17-year-old is the one that's home watching his siblings. Is it safe to agree that there is a level of stress and pressure that falls on a 17-year-old male child who has to see about 4 siblings?
Mm-hmm. It definitely is, because just think about all the things that he may want to do in school. He may want to play sports, but he can't, because he has to make sure he goes home and get his siblings off of the school bus, or he has to make sure they have food, prepared at least. He don't have anybody to talk to outreach, because if he do say something to anybody at school, as far as a counselor or something like that, guess who might come knocking at the door? Child Protective Services. And it's tough. That's just a little bit of it.
But likewise too, he does see, he lost his dad, so he does see how hard that his mom is working. So maybe he don't want to, bring nothing up to her. He wants to help his mom out as best he can. But the thing about it is that a lot of times we put responsibilities on our children, and we expect them to navigate these things. And I'm referring to adult responsibilities, because quite honestly, care of a child technically is an adult responsibility. So you give this child adult responsibilities, but you don't give him adult tools. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. It's very hard to build anything without tools, especially if it requires tools. And these tools are just the knowledge and the know-how, even empathy and knowing how to control your emotions is an actual tool. So if those things weren't instilled in them because the mother was out working, it's still going to be hard, even if he didn't have those siblings.
Right. And so, like you said, maybe he wanted to be on the football team, but he can't. He got to watch his kids. So, what stops him from being angry?
Nothing. Nobody's there. He's got free range. He could, you know, Lord forbid, but he could be taking it out on his siblings, you know, and then later on saying, "Oh, we were just roughhousing or horse playing or something like that." But no, he was really taking his anger out, you know, throwing them across the room or dragging them through the floor or not giving them food, or if you do give them food, it's too hot or whatever. But he's taking out that emotion on the kids.
And so, and then he threatens the kids and tell them, "Don't tell your don't that they better not tell their mother because when she gone, they're gonna get it worse."
Yep.
So the purpose of painting this picture, right, is to explore, you know, some of the struggles of a 17-year-old living in Decatur. So why is there an emphasis on like the environment? Randy, share with them why the environment is impactful for that 17-year-old in Decatur.
Well, the environment is impactful. So let's just say you walk outside, you wake up, you go outside, and the first thing you see is a dirty environment. Let's just say that. That's already setting your mind up for something. Period. You're on it sets you up on a lower frequency. Versus somebody who's staying somewhere else where the grass is cut, there's no trash, they see a nice neighborhood. They walk outside and they feel like they can probably accomplish the world. But there's other factors that, you know, that contributes to that. But just knowing that, okay, when I go home, man, it's trash out here. I don't feel like nothing. It already puts you in that.
So the lower frequency would be like, you know, a lack of pride for their community, their you know, their living environment.
Right.
I think that I agree. I think that's extremely impactful to our children. So some would say, you know, well, you can't miss what you never had. The only problem is that you may never have lived in a really nice neighborhood, but it ain't like you don't know what a nice neighborhood looks like. You got TV. Yeah. You got TV, you got social media. So not for nothing, but our children do know there's another
side.
There's another side.
And a lot of these places are being done intentionally like that. We have to remember that, you know, it's more than a physical war with people. It's psychological as well. If you can damage or attack somebody's psychological well-being, then you have them. You know, some people are susceptible to that, especially if they don't know how to recognize it. They don't understand that they're being conditioned to go out and be angry for the day. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know what I mean? Even come down to the food. You know, look at some of the grocery stores that are in certain neighborhoods. You know, you got grocery stores that don't have the right type of food for people to eat, and they make it more expensive to eat healthy and cheap to eat dirty. And you putting a lot of dirty food in your body. What is that going to do? It's going to contribute to something negative in your mind. Like, we take these things for granted, but it is what it is a lot of the time. They say you know, don't eat dead food because it's just dead negative thoughts. I'm like, what? I love chicken. I love beef. You know, I think there's a little bit more to that, but it's just the access to be able to have something better is the key. So certain places are not in certain neighborhoods. You're not about to go see a farmer's market in what we call the hood. You're not going to see that. You're more than likely going to see, you know, everyday common store like I think out in Georgia is Kroger, or you know, it's not considered like a Publix, or if you go to Virginia, it's Wegmans, or just things like that, where it's just Whole Foods and good products and things like that, because they're typically in a neighborhood where the city takes care of that neighborhood, because they're inviting a certain mindset. When they don't take care of the property, you can already imagine what the mindset is. Right. It just correlates with each other.
Right. So now this the same 17-year-old young man living in Decatur. Let's take him and put him now in Marietta. Mom is still single. Mom still has three jobs, but now because she in Marietta, let's say the rent is now $2,500, so it's $500 more. But now he's in a better environment, so to speak. You touched on like education. Maybe his access to education is a little better, or considerably better than the him being in Decatur. So the education piece, how does that impact let's say their choices that they may potentially make?
Well, they're more than likely learn about things a lot easier, because their school will actually have to, excuse me, their school will actually have the resources or the after school programs to be able to teach them things about everyday life that we need to know. Take, for example, finances, or, learning about credit and things of that nature. It'll stop you from saying, you know what, if I go do this over here, it's probably not going to allow me to take care of this thing that I just learned about here, versus living in another, section where the education is good. You might not have those tools. You might learn the same things, but you probably sharing a book with somebody, or you probably don't have a book to be able to share. You got to copy what the teacher writes on the board, and a lot of times teacher writes too fast. She be done erased everything, and you done. She got 12 sentences up there. You only on 5. So
learn how to speed right.
Yeah, I mean, just the educational values are different, and then them still walking out into a clean environment keeps their mind together by the time they do get to school, or that school bus ride to school. Even if they're just walking, they're in a much higher frequency by the time they get to school, so they're more inviting. They don't feel as if they're I guess you might want to say in danger, or need to be guarded.
But so now, all that being said, those are some good arguments. The environment where they live at, what they see when they come outside, their influences and what have you. But I honestly think that it goes so much deeper than that, because something that I feel like we're not teaching our children right now is how to value themselves and how to value others. And let's say in the case of a single mom who is working 3 jobs, she's not home a lot with her children. So who's teaching those children how to value themselves?
The TV
and others,
and the music.
And the video games.
And see, now it's less parents in the house now than it was back then. So they don't have they don't have somebody to tell them, hey, this music, this person that you think is so great and wonderful, that's pretend. It's not real. This movie that you're watching is not real. They don't have anybody telling them that. And even when you do tell them that, now this generation that is doing that is actually making the music, and we're making the people, we're glorifying the wrong types of thing, and we're making fun of people who want to be smart. We're making fun of people who want to, live on the straight and narrow, and not, not be a victim to the stereotype that they were born into.
But it's funny you said about how parents are home less. So Gen Xers, we are considered we're the latchkey generation. So I was a latchkey kid. But the difference between me being a latchkey kid back in the 80s and kids now, my mom she was coming home. She was home by like 6 p.m. Whereas these kids today, um they putting their own selves to bed. Because mom wasn't there when they came home from school. They came home to a sibling, and the sibling prepared dinner and did homework with them, and it was the sibling that put them in bed, and so mom might not be coming home until after midnight.
Yep.
So mom is not home. So again, so now you have this 17-year-old. He can't even really be 17. He kind of like got to be like a pseudo man, so to speak. He's fulfilling the role of a man, caring for his siblings, and not because something happened to his parent and the parent wasn't there. He's caring for his siblings because the parent can't be there because the parent has to work. So now you have this 17-year-old with no guidance. Um, and he has no male, because we said that the father passed, and so he also doesn't have any other male role models in his life. So yes, he is now wide open and susceptible to everything that is going on in the streets, on TV, in the video games, and he's being inspired by the music and what have you. And on top of that, he is not being taught how to value himself and how to value others. So I feel like that classifies him, that puts him in a a very unfortunate um, category of people who eventually become dangerous to themselves and to others, because they literally have zero guidance. And so, family, I feel like that is where we are dropping the ball. This is why our young men are killing each other and getting locked up, because um they don't have they have no values that
And it's also suicide attributes to that as well. It's a lot of these young boys overdosing on drugs, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're just pushing their limits, and in pushing those limits, things go bad, horribly wrong. For me, I was semi sort of kind of raised single motherish a little bit. I had some influences.
Single motherish.
Yeah, because she did it by herself, but I still had different, like I had a stepfather, and he was in the Navy. They got a divorce. Then I had another stepfather. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, that's another conversation. Because I was actually old enough at that time to understand what was going on. But I mean, he really wasn't there like that. So it still was me, my mom. You know what I mean? But I mean, I played a lot of video games, but I didn't have to worry about not being able to play sports. I ended up leaving from one school district to go to another. So I was in a predominantly white area. The resources were phenomenal. It was a completely different experience. But then I ended up moving to Kinston, North Carolina. Big ups to 252. The school system there is extremely dynamic. You got some schools in the same city that don't have resources, and some that do. But they were making amazing people to go to college. So it was like, I think Kinston to me is like a melting pot of everything that you can probably get out of a city with any variable, probably any variable. But I get it. Like I get I've seen a lot of single parents and single parent kids grow up and not even fit no stereotype at all, like completely. Like I've seen them not get in trouble. They went to college, they came back home, boom. They had about 4 siblings and some more, and did amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I seen some that had everything that you'd hope for a child. You know, both of the parents at home. Um, how you want to say? Yeah, both of the parents at home. Amazing education.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of college, then act a nut, be crazy, or
Yeah.
even happens in high school. Yeah.
So, but maybe those are, you know, like those are like runoffs, and so I get what you're saying. So we don't want. I don't want to stereotype um children coming out of a single parent household. I mean, because I came out of a single parent household, and I raised three children in a single parent household. So I definitely don't want to suggest that if you grow up in a single parent household, you doomed.
You're close, but you're not always. God gonna always help you,
right? But me raising my children up as a single parent, me being raised by a single parent, is entirely different, worlds apart than the women who are having to raise children in a single parent household today. Can it be done? Can they raise productive, responsible children? Absolutely. But look, we cannot fool ourselves into thinking, look, it sounds harsh and it's like, oh, we don't really want to say like that, but the reality of the situation is there are things right now that a single mother has to contend with that I did not have to contend with as a single mother. First of all, I had to pay no $2,000 rent nowhere.
But if you did, the inflation wasn't so bad to where that $2,000 hurt.
So we talked. The rent wasn't no two. If I was paying $2,000 rent, I if I'm paying $2,000 rent, I might as well have a house.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying, like, if you did have to pay $2,000,
look, that's me. That $2,000 rent is 900 square feet on Fifth Avenue in New York.
Yeah,
during that time,
right? But it made sense because you was making the money to be able to, and the inflation wasn't so dramatic. But that's another thing that contributes to some of these parents having to be out of the house so much. Inflation is ridiculous.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, now this too is a whole nother conversation. But what they charge it for rent is ridiculous. Now you just moved back to Charlotte. Not to put you out there on the spot. 1,800.
Yep. I got to drive trucks right now.
for how many square feet?
I think it's 1,085.
1,800. That's not including no utilities.
Well, it's including cable and internet.
That ain't a utility.
I mean, it's a perk.
You still got to look. You still got to pay electric.
It's a perk that I get a free phone.
Well, it's a perk.
A little bit, yeah.
No, you get what?
A free cell phone.
What do you mean you get a free cell phone?
I get qualified. Hold on. If anybody's out there,
all right, never mind.
We're gonna talk. Yeah.
never mind. But yeah, no, but
it's still a lot. It's too much.
Yeah, but I mean, you just put it in perspective. The issue is, so okay, when I was a single mom, at one point I was working two jobs and like lost my mind. So then I went and found one job that to sustain myself and my three children. You take me and put me now in 2023.
That's
despite me having a master's now, me having a good job. If today I had to take care of three children, I too would have to go get another job.
Like we got to really think about like all the different things that contribute to a generation of kids that are
Mm-hmm.
going to be struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that particularly. You probably didn't necessarily need a phone, but now you need a phone. You need a cell phone for some odd reason. It's
Mm-hmm.
become a necessity. Rideshare is now a thing. Who would have
A
thought that you get in
necessity.
the car with a stranger other than what we used to do with
Taxis,
taxis?
right?
But it just everything just seems so different now,
Mm-hmm.
and more of the things that we don't necessarily need
Mm-hmm.
to live
Mm-hmm.
or survive as human beings or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But now those things are incorporated into our everyday lives as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um,
Now, my audience, I got Dontia and Felicia and Carlotta and Lorene. Look, y'all being super quiet, but I appreciate y'all being here. Um, but all of them are moms. All of them are moms. Our youngest mom is Lorene, and her son, he's 3 years old. And but she is married. And prayerfully she will stay married. They will be together till death do them part. I would you know I will And so she may never have to necessarily contend with having to work multiple jobs, to take care of herself, or take care of her son. And the fact that his father is there um uh also will contribute to the guidance um of her son. But Lorraine, I'm sure you can give commentary on, thinking about, could I actually do this, take care of my son by myself? Can I, will I be able to give him the necessary tools, to keep him out of somebody's prison? Now, when I so I say that, I mean, like, now there's circumstances where I look, our children could end up in prison. They didn't even do nothing.
Target.
That's just unfortunately the world that we live in. But those of us, who see the writing on the wall, we take those necessary steps to try and guide our children the right way. But like I said, Lorraine, can you imagine having to do this by yourself, having to raise him by yourself, teach him, how to do certain things, and making sure uh that you point him in a direction where you don't have to really worry about him getting caught up in the streets. um felicia says Felicia says, my darn 11-year-old has a cell because of being in middle school.
See?
Most nowadays, most kids do have cell phones. I remember we were talking. We were matter of fact, my son, he was like, do you think it's too young for an 8-year-old to have a cell phone?
Depends on what part of the country you live in. Like, okay, my son
Okay.
that stays in Virginia. When he was 8 years old, they had that Charlottesville
Okay.
mess going on.
Yeah.
with
Okay.
protesting and somebody got killed.
Right.
But he stays 30 minutes from that.
Mm-hmm.
I the area that he stays in is nobody. Well, there's people that look like him because half the city is family.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
he need a phone.
Yeah.
He needs a
Well,
man.
well, the argument. I don't even think it's an argument, really. Uh, Unfortunately, because of all of these school shootings and what have you, I think it's a whole bunch of parents could not imagine their children not having a cell phone. I so I'm my children are grown, so I'm just a grandma. But um if you knew your child was in a school and there was an active shooter in the school, you probably would want your child to have a cell phone to call you, call 911, something, and to think that they didn't and they didn't have anything, right? Probably would probably freak that parent out all the more. So Felicia says, she says, I definitely couldn't do it without my spouse. Kids need both parents, in my opinion. I could only do so much. I agree. Yep. And again, this is definitely not to take nothing away from any single mother. I promise you, I would have preferred to have had my children's father with me to raise my children. But God knew better. And sometimes, unfortunately, his role might just be to just make the kids, because he's not going to really necessarily make a good father. So but no.
I think my mom did an amazing job with me. Like I take, for instance, my son's mother. Mm-hmm. Me and her still have a good relationship. Mm-hmm. Let me see. People expect me to be mad or jealous or whatever about mm-hmm. her getting married and having my son around. I was at the wedding. Okay. Y'all better get it.
So you celebrated?
Yeah, what I mean. Even with my daughter's mother, I'm putting my business out here, but not come on. But no judgment zone. Yeah, just transparency. So maybe this might help somebody else, like you said.
Right.
My daughter's mother, me and her kid's father, we used to hang out. We used to go to the bar. We used to drink at his house and lift weights. No, I don't go to the bar. The bar is at my house. No, but we used to hang out and enjoy each other. But it wasn't that, oh man, I can't believe you be with. Like, that mindset is not there for for somebody who's mature. We're not jealous about what used to be. We're not living in the past. We're living in the present and trying to find different solutions. And we do those things for the kids.
Yeah. I agree. Felicia said she doesn't really want him to have a phone, but it's necessary in this age right now. Exactly. And that's basically what we're saying. I remember about a couple of months ago, but my granddaughters called me and because there was a fight on the school bus, and they were scared, and they couldn't call their mom because she drives bus, and she wouldn't have picked up her phone. But stuff happens on the school bus. So I get it. I think what's important to do is that you just you have to teach them how to be responsible with these cell phones, because
it's too many things you can do on the phone.
Well, like, I know my well, he's now 17, but I think he was 15 when he did it. He was the class was taking a test, and he was playing a game on his phone.
Was he done with the test?
No, he was not. Oh. So that's when the cell phone becomes a problem.
I had a professor tell me, if you didn't cheat, you ain't try. So
if you didn't cheat
on the test, you didn't try. If you didn't cheat on the test and you still failed, you didn't try. I don't know why the professor said that, but he was dead serious. Because we had somebody fail the class, and he was like, I wasn't even in the class, and you didn't even cheat to try to pass the test? You didn't know nothing? You didn't trying, at least. Wow. You didn't even try. You just failed willingly.
Wow, you failed willingly.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about that teacher. Yeah. But there's Lorraine. So Lorraine says, yes, that is my goal, to keep him safe. He is a special needs child, and I need support from my family and services. I place he is autistic and nonverbal.
Typo. That's all.
Right. So Lorraine, you're married, and your husband is there with you. Can you imagine him not being there, like him just one day getting up and like, you know what, I throw my hands up. I can't do this no more.
I mean, they had an instance. Somebody was having a mental, um,
A
something was
crisis.
going. Yeah, a crisis. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even come up with the word, but they were
Right.
having a crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and the person called 911, explained that, and said, "Hey, we need somebody to get out here to give the person help." The police showed up and took him to jail,
Mm-hmm.
beat him, and took him to jail.
So what?
Yeah,
They beat him.
beat him and took him to jail because they said he was resisting arrest.
Oh,
But the person never.
there's been a couple of cases.
I mean, the person literally
Like
sitting on the
that.
ground. So,
Mm.
like, especially in those instances, that it don't matter how you are, just a person in
Mhm.
general. You may still
Mhm.
end up going to jail if the
Mhm.
circumstances align
Mhm.
themselves that way.
Mhm. So let's touch on this really quick. Uh, once our 17, 16, 15 year olds get locked up, um you know, let's just say they get something like 20 years. Let's take a 17-year-old and let's say he ends up getting something like 20 years. So that means that when he gets out, if he is made to do all of his time, he may be getting out of prison at 37. So we were talking earlier, and I think we both are in agreement that our prison systems are not designed to rehabilitate um, their inmates.
Yeah.
I will first say that I am of the mindset that rehabilitation starts within the individual. Um, you could have a prison that their goal and their focus is to rehabilitate you, but if you don't want it, it's not going to happen. Agreed?
Yeah.
So so we said that prisons are not designed to rehabilitate. I said that rehabilitation starts within the person.
Mm-hmm.
But then you talked about the things that they will see,
Yeah.
things that impact who they will be
Once they get out.
coming out.
Yeah. I mean, so let's just say, like you said, he goes in, got to do the whole 20.
Mm-hmm.
He might be put in a certain part of the prison to where he has to defend himself because there's a gang there.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's not supposed to be any of that stuff inside a place you're supposed to be getting rehabilitation, but they're not going to stop it because it still
Mm-hmm.
brings them one thing: money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that he's not going to have a program for him that when he gets out, that he can ensure himself that, hey man, I can really get this job. I can change my life around. He's not going to be ready for the actual environment when he comes out. The education that he's going to get is going to be outdated.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plethora of people who come home from prison and say, man, I don't even recognize, can somebody bring me up to speed on this or bring me up to speed on that, or I don't even know how to operate a smartphone. How? You're supposed to be getting those things. Say on paper, they'll say, well, we're giving the inmates outside time, well, recreation, we're giving them education, and we're feeding them, and they have a bed and they have proper facilities.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sell that and it's on paper, but it's not realistic to think
Mm-hmm.
that this person is going to this prison the way it's set up, with the drugs still in it and the gangs that's still in it, the certain sexual acts that's done inside of the prison that doesn't get stopped, the poor health benefits they have while they're inside of there, the overworking of them. That person comes out a truly changed person. It's no rehabilitation done. They have a chapel, where you can go pray to whatever religion that you're part of, but they don't. It's not set up the correct way. Even when it comes to the halfway houses, when they put you in and say, hey, like I've worked in one in Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, I wouldn't recommend that for nobody. They're still on lockdown. They can't go wherever they please. They still have to ask for permission. And this is supposed to be a halfway house to where they're being acclimated back into society. They still can't get certain jobs. So you mean to tell me this person done went somewhere for rehabilitation? They serve their time, they get out and still get punished for the past thing that they've done. So to me, it's not rehabilitation. They don't even believe in their own rehabilitation.
And they get punished
all the way over again, and now they're back in the whole. It's a loop for them because some of them say, I don't want to be no barber. I don't want to start my own business. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start. I can't even get a job. And some businesses that you do try to start, you can't get a grant for it. Some programs you still won't get into. It's just a lot of different variables that have them go back into the system because they're more comfortable there because that's all they know. They don't know the outside world. It's tough. It sucks. My uncle used to go back and forth to jail over and over and over again. He went to prison, I think, twice. So for me, that was my learning block right there. I saw the things that he did, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do it." I saw the way he was treated. I'm like, I don't want to be treated that way. I don't think my generation could handle a lot of the things that your generation went through mentally, or even my grandparents. I wouldn't be able to handle that mentally.
Really?
No. Nope, just go and kill me.
Really? You said just go and kill me.
Yeah, because I'm gonna fight every day. I'm fighting. You're not gonna call me that. You're not gonna look at me like that. You ain't gonna spit at me. You ain't. Nope. We fighting.
Well, I'm sorry. That didn't happen in my generation.
Okay,
it was in my mama's generation.
All right, so your mama's generation. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Gen Xers, or we fighting too.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't water fountain. Who water fountain? What?
Segregation.
At that point, you said I couldn't read, so I don't know what that's saying. I'm telling you, I'd have been too. I'd have been. They would have been like, he is a problem.
Well,
I would have been a problem. But yeah, it's not set up for them to be rehabilitated in prison.
So let's to be clear. If you legitimately committed a crime, it in this country, it is the law of the land is that you are assessed a penalty. Sometimes it's monetarily, other times it's restrictions, and sometimes it's both. So we get that, and I think that so I don't want it to appear like we're advocating for some other type of system. We all fully recognize that is at least in this country that is the law of the land. I mean, look, truth be told, there are some countries that that you commit certain crimes, you immediately are being put to death. So kind of grateful that is not the case. But at the same token, I do feel like that you should do whatever your penalty is, it should be that. But I do feel like as far as the prison system is concerned, so the restriction itself, you're not being able to now come and go as you please and do whatever you want. That's all of that is punishment within itself. So that's going to go without saying. But now, while I got you here locked up, unable to go do what you want to do, how about we just work? Let's strive to make you a better person, make you more, make you an asset to society versus further beating you down and destroying you. And then I want to throw you back out there in society and sit here and wait till you come back. Because basically that's what's happening, right?
The only asset to them is free labor, cheap labor.
Now, Anthony said the prison system is set up for inmates to return and not to be successful when they get out. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So the problem is twofold. Well, actually, it's trifold. So this topic, we are losing a generation of young men. So we've established what is happening prior to them getting to prison or even dying. So where the parents are absent in their households. So we get it. Um, Unfortunately, there are circumstances where you have single parent households where, excuse me, where you are forced to work multiple hours and you are not able to dedicate the time necessary to properly raising your children, and so you have children raising children, or just children just raising themselves. So that's a problem within itself. And I, off the top of my head, oh my God, that problem right there is so incredibly complex. I can't even begin to even think of well, I could think of several, but it's so multi-layered. I think that's an ongoing discussion.
Yeah.
When it comes down to that generation dying. So two things is happening. Like you said, one, some of them are just taking their own selves out. So you have a generation, right, that they can't cope.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are committing suicide. There are things that we can do to combat that, because that absolutely should not be the case. We've talked about it before on this platform. What we can do as far as our youth is concerned. It absolutely starts with us. Again, you have young people who are clueless. That would be like expecting your infant to be born knowing what to do. No, it's your role as a parent to teach and to guide. And teaching and guiding, once you become a parent, oh, that's until you get into the ground. You are always teaching and guiding your children. You're teaching and guiding your adult children.
Mm-hmm.
So it never stops. The mass incarceration. Hmm. uh Mass incarceration is a fight that sits on all of our doorsteps. It is not just black and brown people. It's everybody. um uh you can't just, you would never want to live in a society that they just locking up one ethnicity. So bottom line, regardless of whether it's more black than there is Asian or what have you, to me that's irrelevant. Because bottom line, if you live here in the United States, you did a crime here in the United States, you got locked up, and you're gonna get out, um you still gonna impact me.
Mm-hmm.
You may not necessarily impact me directly,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to impact me because you live here in the United States. Now, if you just leave and go someplace else, then that's different.
Yeah. And I think the only difference is, I mean, it's fairly the same amount of rate per capita of people,
Mm-hmm.
or different ethnicities of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the amount of time that are
Mm-hmm.
staple to,
Yeah.
Other people,
Right.
compared to people that look like me and you.
Right.
And I think that's what really contributes to the amount of time. Other than, like you said earlier, some people not even doing that to be there. Being there, it's one guy get just served 40 years
Mm-hmm.
for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Found out he was innocent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're gonna give him $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
What?
But I think it's important that we pay attention, that this mass incarceration of Gen Zs um, um, is, in my opinion, I think is just another layer to genocide um, of a group of people. Um, and I really think it's time that we wake up.
There is an example of that.
There's an example
Of uh, pretty much population control.
Oh yeah.
All right. So remember how we were saying that, until it happens to a certain group of people, that's when it happens. So thinking about pro-life and pro-choice. No. So they're realizing that the number of them is getting lower at a crazy rate. So that's the reason why now they're all of a sudden they're pro-life. But they want pro-life back when they were taking our life. And even still to now. And so I mean, that's just a prime example of that. That's one of them anyway.
Yeah. So family, I think our takeaways are that you think we need a part 2?
Yeah.
Our takeaways are, let's say our immediate takeaways are to number one, talk to that generation. Really start to pay attention to what they are doing, what they are encountering, how they are attempting to navigate this world, the decisions that they are being forced to make adult decisions that they're being forced to make as children, and let's really start to do our part as parents.
I think we should actually, just try to find some kind of common way to, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, we got to be their best friend and stuff like that, but we got to try to find.
You got to be a parent first.
Yeah, we got. I mean, I'm saying like to other people, kids. It was a certain time to where like the community looked out for the community. So like for me, if I see a young guy doing something,
so we need to bring community back in.
Yeah, and I think that would help. Each one help one. You know what I mean? We see somebody doing, and so we see somebody, doing something or struggling with whatever decision or something. We need to be able to come, to the table and say, hey, why don't you try this? Or if I know somebody that may be able to help the situation, lend a helping hand to them and point them in the right direction if I can't do it myself. Even when it comes to these schools and their education, we need to be in more parent-teacher conferences. Even when it's community meetings, we need to be there to figure out what it is that they're doing and trying to implement to railroad that generation and to also railroad us as well, because they want us try to stop us from fighting for them. And we can't let that fight die. We have to continue to keep that hunger alive. We still need another Martin Luther King come out of somewhere, or some type of leader that we can all. I'm not gonna necessarily say we're gonna all think the same, but we can all agree to at least bring that community back. At least that part, at least that much.
All right, everybody. How y'all like my new co-host?
I look greasy. I'm like, hey,
it's the light.
I look at a whole bucket of chicken. That's a stereotype, Lord.
Yeah, Lord. No, it's the look. We got HD lighting.
Yeah, man.
But no,
Makeup next time.
Look, and he said, "Put our electronics down." As us adults, right?
Yeah,
As when we put ours down, maybe the kids put theirs down.
Yep,
Yeah,
lead
that
by
part.
example, I guess.
But Brandon, right here, you did that. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the kickoff of season 2, and this is episode 1. Our next episode will be on October 29th. You are all in for a very, very special treat. We will have my dear brother in Christ. His name is Mr. Anthony Davis. He has a book that he recently released. And if you go to the YouTube page or the Facebook page, you can see exactly the name of the book. And we're going to have an in-depth discussion with him about his book, and we're going to all aid in promoting it before he has his book signing. I feel so honored and blessed that he would ask me to be able to utilize my platform, despite the fact that I'm still growing. Like I don't have 10,000 followers just yet, but we still operating in humble beginnings. But he knows that, and so what that says to me is that he sees something in us, and that he is actually entrusting us to assist him in the promotion of his book. And so I absolutely do not take that lightly. I totally consider that a privilege, and I hope that we will be able to do the conversation on the 29th, October 29th, justice, and allow you to share those things that you would like to share as relates to your book. So you all mark your calendars, October 29th at 6 p.m. We will be interviewing Anthony Davis. As you see, he put a comment on the screen, and we're just super excited. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Yes. Tell all your friends. Tell your mama and them.
What song was that? Hold on, man. I heard that song.
Oh Lord. Tell your mama and them to come
babies,
and come and hang out with us. And we're still trying to keep this thing down to an hour, but we get a little bit caught up in conversation. When the conversation is good, and you can't just cut it off. But look, that's the joys of being in control of your own platform, your own channel. So thank you again. Love you. And I got a little treat for y'all, because someone suggested, remember I told you way back when, this is completely new to me. And so I'm learning as I go. And so I now have an outro. So enjoy it. We love you, and we will see you on October 29th at 6 p.m.
Peace.
Unspoken conversations. Your words have power. Our goal is to educate and inspire positive action that will motivate change and understanding. Thank you for joining us. Unspoken conversations. Your words